species. Annie will explain how these sites, as a subset of key biodiversity areas, can be integrated into the NBSAPs to achieve Aichi targets and the Convention of Biological Diversity reporting requirements. As I mentioned it, Amy Ogrin is the Alliance for Zero Extinction Program Officer of the American Bird Conservancy. She works at national policy and site-based levels to advance activities to protect habitats and reduce threats for the rarest species in the Americas. Amy collaborates closely with international partners, particularly in Brazil and Chile, to strengthen AZE sites. For over 6 years, her work has focused on safeguarding key biodiversity areas, important bird areas, and Alliance for Zero Extinction sites. Amy previously held positions at the George Mason University, Conservation International, and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. I would like to welcome Amy to these webinar sessions. Thank her for attending this invitation. It is a pleasure to have you here today, Amy. Let me open your microphone. Hello, Amy. Can you hear us? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me, Diego?
Yes. Everybody can hear you.
Wonderful. Well, Diego, thank you so much for this, and not just for the introduction, but for help in putting together this great webinar series. And thank you for allowing me to present today. Can everyone hear me all right? I guess if you can't, let Diego know, and he will let me know to speak more loudly. As Diego mentioned, I'll be talking about the Alliance for Zero Extinction as a tool for achieving Aichi Biodiversity Targets today. And really, I'd like to start by thanking all of the groups that have been involved in advancing AZE. Diego and Chrissy at the NBSAP Forum, of course, as well as the Global Environment Facility, UNEP, BirdLife International, the UNDP, the CBD, WCMC, IUCN, and the governments of Brazil, Chile, and Madagascar in particular, because we're currently working with them on some site-based projects to advance AZE, but as well many other governments that have been involved in advancing AZE in their countries.
I'm sorry for interrupting me. Before starting our presentation and give you the credential for the presenter, I'm going to remind some of the rules and dynamics of the NBSAP Forum webinars. Everybody will be on mute during this presentation. This diminishes the interferences and facilitates the communication. If any of the assistants have a question, please send it through the control panel, through the chat control panel tab, and I will be happy to assist you. This will be a 1-hour webinar. At the end of Amy's presentation, we will have around 30 minutes for questions and some discussions around this topic. Please also send us your questions in advance or raise your hand in the control panel as well. If you want to speak and the connections allow it, I will be opening the participants' microphones to promote the interaction, but I understand that some of you have low bandwidth connections, so I am able to also read the questions. As many of the participants are not English native speakers, me included, I would like to remind Amy the importance to talk slower. This also facilitates the comprehensions among our practitioners. This session is being recorded. Remember that you can download it from the NBSAP Forum website, www.nbsapforum.net. All the participants will receive an email with this link to download it. So if you have any questions related to the recordings, just let me know. Now I will transfer the webinar control to Amy. Please enjoy this session. Send us your questions, and if you have any questions or doubts, just let me know. I'm going to transfer the presentation to Amy to start sorry, 1 second.
Okay, can you hear me again, Diego?
Yeah, I can hear you. I am just taking a look at your presentation. Just let me 1 second.
Sure, let me know when I should begin.
You can start. I am just trying to figure out some issues with sharing the screen. Let me 1 second.
Of course.
I am having some issues with sharing the screen. I'm sorry, can you start and while I am trying to figure out what is going on with sharing the presentation. I'm so sorry for this technical issue. I don't understand what is going on.
Sure, I can start now. I was going to start by giving and please let me know when the screen is available again, Diego, or if there's anything I can do to help. I'm going to start by giving a brief overview of the webinar. I'll begin by discussing what the Alliance for Zero Extinction is, how AZE, or the Alliance for Zero Extinction sites, are a subset of key biodiversity areas, AZE and CBD, AZE in National Biodiversity Strategies and Action Plans, specifically looking at Aichi Biodiversity Targets 11 and 12, and how AZE can help with individual countries' efforts to achieve Aichi Biodiversity Targets. Have we made any progress with screen sharing? No, let's see. Okay, let's see. Sorry about this. Diego's asked me to send him.
Yes, I am having an issue with sharing the screen. I don't understand what is going on. This is the first time this is happening. So sorry for to all of the participants, but I am asking to share the presentation.
Well, if there's anything I can do from this end, please let me know. I'm sending that to you right now.
Yes, I want to apologize to all the participants for this. Sometimes the technical issues have problems with the presentation. I don't know. I don't understand what is going on.
Okay, I have sent the presentation to you, Diego.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to share then, and you just let me know when you need to pass the slides. I am just waiting for her. Just 2 minutes more. So sorry. I'm just opening. Okay, we are on track again.
Great. Now, should I begin again or continue from where I left off, Diego?
I am just showing, I guess, let me 1 second. Okay, go ahead. I am going just to start where you left. Okay, can you see your presentation on the screen?
Yes, I can. And if you want to enlarge it, that's fine too. I think I'm 2 slides down, or I can start over, whatever works best for you.
Okay. Okay, go ahead. Okay, please start, Amy. I have all the control over the presentation.
Okay, great. Would you like me to repeat these slides?
Sure, please. Thank you very much.
Of course. Well, I just wanted to start out by thanking both Diego Ochoa and Chris Supple for help, as well as all of these organizations that have been involved in advancing AZE, the Global Environment Facility, UNEP, BirdLife International, the UNDP, CBD, WCMC, IUCN, and the governments of Brazil, Chile, and Madagascar, who are currently working with the Alliance for Zero Extinction on site-based projects to advance AZE, as well as many other countries that have used AZE as a tool for biodiversity conservation in their countries. Next slide. Thanks. So to give a brief overview of the webinar, I'll begin by discussing what the Alliance for Zero Extinction is. We can click through it. AZE is a subset of Key Biodiversity Areas, AZE and CBD. AZE and NBSAPs, particularly by Aichi Biodiversity Targets 11 and 12, and then how AZE can help with individual countries' efforts to achieve these targets. So I'll begin talking about what the Alliance for Zero Extinction is. It's a global initiative that began about 11 years ago and is being increasingly adopted by countries, and you can keep clicking here, Diego, that aims to prevent species extinctions by identifying and protecting key sites, which are known as AZE sites, each one of which is the last remaining refuge for one or more endangered or critically endangered species. So in other words, these sites hold the last remaining population of a species. If that site is lost, the species is expected to be extinct or at least extinct in the wild. You can keep clicking here. Let's see, two more clicks, I think. Another way to look at the Alliance for Zero Extinction is as a tool for identifying the most globally threatened species and the sites that they inhabit, and that's really what I'll be talking about today. The benefits of protecting AZE species and sites, of course, are to help achieve the Aichi Biodiversity Targets, which is the focus of today's talk. But there are other benefits as well. AZE species and site protection helps to conserve a country's unique species that are found nowhere else on Earth. They provide ecosystem services such as water protection and carbon sequestration. And they can be a resource for the future, protecting possible medicinal resources, genetic resources, as incentive for ecotourism. And really by protecting AZE species and sites, we as everyone on Earth, but countries specifically, avoid losing species and areas in their countries that are irreplaceable. This is a map from 2010 of the AZE sites that had been identified to date at that time. You can click one more time, Diego. Thank you. At that time, there were 587 sites containing 920 AZE species. So clearly, several sites had more than one species in them. And this map is very much in the list of AZE species and sites is very much a work in progress as IUCN assesses more and more taxa, as new data and research become available. There is more information to identify critically endangered and endangered species that may be restricted to only one site, and those species and sites would then become AZE species and sites. So this is an ongoing project. This slide that you're looking at now is the front page of the Alliance for Zero Extinction website, which provides even more information on AZE, and we'll be looking at some specific pages of this website later on in the webinar. Thank you. Next, I'll discuss AZE as part of a larger group of areas aimed at protecting global biodiversity. So there's recognition that even as more protected areas are being created globally, species declines are continuing. And for this reason, CBD and others see a need not just to protect more area in general, but to target that protection to areas of particular importance for biodiversity. And fortunately, a global standard to identify such areas already exists, and these are known as Key Biodiversity Areas, which are, you can click, thank you. The official definition, they are sites contributing significantly to the global persistence of biodiversity. These Key Biodiversity Areas, or KBAs as they're known, are based on BirdLife's IBAs, Important Bird and Biodiversity Areas, which were developed decades ago and have now been identified in over 200 countries and territories for birds. The idea behind Key Biodiversity Areas is that they cover all taxa. So it's a much larger group of species and the sites that they inhabit that are important for biodiversity. So there's many different subsets of Key Biodiversity Areas: important bird areas, important butterfly areas, important areas for freshwater biodiversity, Alliance for Zero Extinction sites. All of these fall under the larger umbrella of Key Biodiversity Areas. Another way to look at this, if Key Biodiversity Areas are an iceberg, AZE sites are really the tip of that iceberg, because they are the sites that are in most urgent need of protection, because as I mentioned earlier, they're the last site remaining for these critically endangered and endangered species. And finally, another way to think of this is, if Key biodiversities are this largest green circle, and important bird areas are a smaller subset of that pertains only to one single taxa, AZE sites are really the center of that target, in that they are, again, the most they're the sites that most urgently need that protection. They're the most threatened subset of Key Biodiversity Areas. So AZE and CBD. In 2010, the Convention on Biological Diversity Secretariat and AZE signed a memorandum of cooperation to prevent species extinctions and maintain ecosystems and habitats at key sites for endangered species. And AZE is now a recognized indicator for Aichi Biodiversity Targets, particularly targets 11 and 12. Target 11 states that by 2020, at least 17% of terrestrial and 10% of coastal and marine areas, particularly areas of importance for biodiversity, are to be conserved. And it is this part of the target that states especially areas of particular importance for biodiversity that really fits well with what AZE is trying to achieve, and helps make AZE a good tool for achieving this target. Target Target 12 states that by 2020, and you can click again, the extinction of known threatened species has been prevented. So again, AZE is a good indicator for this target because, of course, the goal of AZE is to prevent the extinction of the most threatened species globally. About 60% of AZE sites identified by 2010 are now protected. So that's good news. Of course, protecting all of these sites is really critical for meeting CBD biodiversity targets and for preventing the extinction of so many species around the world. CBD is doing a lot of great work relevant to using AZE as a tool for achieving Aichi Biodiversity Targets 11 and 12. CBD has been putting together regional workshops on these two targets. And among the many other things that are discussed at these workshops is the use of AZE as a tool to help meet these targets. There was a workshop for Africa just last week, and there have been workshops for South Central and West Asia, Latin America and the Caribbean, and East Asia and Southeast Asia to date, with upcoming workshops for other regions to follow. As part of these regional workshops, CBD has put together these really excellent country data dossier for protected area summary sheets for each country with information relevant to achieving Aichi Biodiversity Targets 11 and 12. And these dossiers include information on terrestrial and marine ecoregions, IBAs, and AZE sites and species. And I'm going to briefly go through an example for Madagascar of the type of information provided for Alliance for Zero Extinction sites in these dossiers. So the dossier states that Madagascar has 20 AZE sites, 6 of which have no protection, 7 of which have partial protection, and 7 of which completely protected. And it goes on to say that protecting those AZE sites that are not currently protected or that are partially protected is a priority action. The dossiers also include information on overlaps between unprotected and partially protected AZE sites and candidate ecoregions. It states that there are 15 overlaps between AZE sites and ecoregions, 13 terrestrial and 2 marine ecoregions, and that conserving, that helping to protect these sites is also a priority action. The dossier provides, let's see, there we go, thank you. The dossier provides a spreadsheet about all of the AZE sites in each country. As you can see here for Madagascar, all of the site names are listed with the size of the sites in square kilometers, the percent of the site that is protected, and the location, the latitude and longitude of each site. You can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. And it also provides, you can click one more time. There we go, thank you. It also provides a spreadsheet detailing the overlaps between unprotected and partially protected AZE sites and candidate ecoregions needing further protection. As you can see here, it provides the site name, an area of the site again, as well as the ecoregion, or in some cases, ecoregions that the site overlaps with, and the percentage and size of that overlap. So this really provides useful information for protecting both AZE sites that aren't fully protected as well as underrepresented ecoregions. A couple upcoming CBD events related to AZE include a side event at SEPSTA next month in Montreal, which a talk on, or I should say an event on Alliance for Zero Extinction Site Network, contributing to the Strategic Plan for Biodiversity, will be held, and there will also be a side event at the upcoming COP13 meeting in Cancun in December. So CBD has really been been instrumental in advancing AZE relative to CBD reporting requirements and NBSAPs in particular. So using AZE to achieve Aichi biodiversity targets at a country level, how can AZE be used in this way? And I have four different steps that I'm going to discuss here. First is identify existing and potential AZE sites. Next is conducting an AZE gap analysis to determine which sites are already protected by national protected areas. And as you saw, the dossiers provided by CBD and developed by CBD already have that information that a gap analysis would include, including AZE in NBSAPs, and finally developing an action plan to advance the conservation of national AZE sites. And I'm going to start by talking about identifying existing and potential AZE sites. To identify existing AZE sites in an individual country, you can use the AZE website, which has a search function for AZE sites by country. You can move to the next slide, please. Thank you. So here I did a search for Vietnam, which showed that there are 6 AZE species at 4 different sites in Vietnam, including amphibians, birds, conifers, and mammals at 4 different sites. The site name, scientific name of the species, and common names, when available, of those species are also provided. And the AZE website provides a list of these AZE species and sites for every country that has AZE species as of the 2010 update. As I mentioned earlier, the AZE list is a work in progress. So it is always adapting, and some countries that are not on this list most likely do have AZE species and sites, and we'll talk a little later about how to, here we go, develop a national AZE list to find out more about potential AZE sites in your country. To develop a national AZE list, which I should mention has been done by several countries, including India and Brazil, Colombia, and this work is currently underway in Mexico. Countries first consult the IUCN Global Red List of threatened species, as well as their country's national red list, considering all assessed taxa to determine which species are critically endangered or endangered. Next, countries determine which critically endangered and endangered species are confined to one single site using national data and expert opinion. For example, if there is an amphibian expert for one region of your country who says that a specific endangered amphibian is only found at one site, then that species and sites would be good recommendations for to become an AZE species and an AZE site. Then countries would use, I'm sorry, could we go back one slide? Sorry. Countries would use that information to improve and refine the existing list of AZE species for their country, or to create a list if one does not currently exist as of the 2010 update. And finally, those AZE sites would be mapped to create a national AZE map. And on the next slide, here I have an example of a national AZE map for Colombia, which shows the location of all of the AZE sites in Colombia, as well as their protection levels are shown. So next, countries can conduct an AZE gap analysis to determine which sites are already protected by national protected areas. So this is the work that was done by the CBD in those dossiers. To conduct such an analysis, countries can consult the World Database on Protected Areas to determine where there is overlap between their AZE sites and their country's protected areas. So here I have a portion of a spreadsheet for Chile that shows the AZE sites, their area, and their percent coverage, ranging anywhere from 0 to 100% coverage by protected areas. And this information can be used both to determine the percent coverage by site, as well as the percent coverage, if you click one more time, for the entire country. For example, 54% of AZE sites are currently protected in Chile as of the date when this spreadsheet was constructed. Countries can also put together a map showing where AZE sites are and are not protected. Here there is a map for the country of Trinidad and Tobago that shows both AZE sites with protection, AZE sites without protection, as well as the location of protected areas that are not AZE sites. So to help achieve Aichi biodiversity targets, countries can use this information from the gap analysis to include unprotected or partially protected AZE sites in national protected area planning. To include AZE in NBSAPs and reports to CBD or other relevant documents, if countries have completed a gap analysis or using the gap analysis information provided on the CBD dossiers, this information can be included as well as a map of protected and unprotected AZE sites in your NBSAP. And at a minimum, countries can add language about their intent to identify AZE sites and develop a plan to conserve them. The Alliance for Zero Extinction has put together a fact sheet, which will be included in the additional resources sent to you after this webinar. And that fact sheet includes some suggested language for countries interested in including something about AZE in their NBSAPs. If you click one more time, it should be, there we go. So this language is included on that fact sheet that can be used really as a placeholder before any specific work is done on the AZEs for countries interested in including AZE and using it to help achieve their biodiversity targets. And finally, countries can develop an action plan to advance the conservation of their national AZE sites. So how can AZE help with individual country efforts to achieve Aichi biodiversity targets? There are many AZE resources available. The AZE website, which we talked about briefly before, has those country-level data on AZE species and sites in each country. It also has an interactive map of AZE sites globally. Also, AZE shape files are available upon request, as well as on IBAT, the Integrated Biodiversity Assessment Tool. And the AZE fact sheet that I mentioned a minute ago has more information in a short 2-page summary of ways to include AZE in NBSAPs. BirdLife International has created a spreadsheet listing all IBAs and AZE sites that shows their area, the percentage covered by protected areas, as well as the coordinates of all those sites. And CBD, as we saw earlier, has created these country-level dossiers for protected areas that truly have really useful information on them about AZE as well as other things. A couple take-home messages. So protecting AZE sites and species provides multiple benefits. Today we focused on achieving Aichi Biodiversity Targets 11 and 12 using AZE, but AZE sites, here you can keep clicking, thank you, also help to protect underrepresented ecoregions, conserve a country's unique species, provide ecosystem services and benefits, and can be a source of ecotourism interest. And the Alliance for Zero Extinction is really here to help countries that are interested in using this tool to meet CBD reporting requirements. If there are any questions following this webinar or information requests about AZE particular to your country, I have provided my Skype name and my email address to you all. And at this point, if there are any questions or comments, I am here to help answer them. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time.
Thank you, Amy, for your time. I really enjoyed it and learned from your presentation. I'm going to open the questions and discussion sessions. I'm going to read some of the questions that participants have sent. If you have questions or have a comment, just raise your hand in the control or send your question through our web through our chat. I'm going to start reading the questions. Just let me 1 second. Okay, what is the best way to raise awareness of the importance of AZEs with the Ministries of Environment?
That's a great question. Well, I think there are several, I would suggest several strategies. One is to point to the fact that AZE sites and species really protect a country's natural heritage, natural patrimony, because these are unique species that are only at one site. Each country's AZE species are only found in that country, and saying, you know, this is our species. It exists nowhere else on Earth, and this is really our heritage, our natural heritage that we're protecting. I think it is one approach, as well as the fact that using AZE as a tool for biodiversity conservation allows you to achieve several goals at once, not only protecting that natural heritage specific to one's own country, but also helping to meet these two Aichi Biodiversity Targets, 11 and 12, helping to protect underrepresented ecoregions, another goal of the CBD. So I think several CBD goals can be achieved by protecting AZE sites strategically. For example, if there is a specific underrepresented ecoregion, focusing on the protection of AZE sites that overlap with that ecoregion first can make sense. And hopefully that at least partially helps to answer that question. And if not, please follow up during this question and answer session so I can provide more information.
Okay, I have several questions from one of our participants. I'm going to open the microphone. Fabiana, let me know if it's working. Fabiana, you're there?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Okay, it seems like Fabiana is not working the audio. Anyway, I'm going to read her question.
Okay.
Let me 1 second. Hold on. Is the country's dossier prepared by the CBD available online to anyone who is interested to consult them?
Is the dossier available? Is that what was asked?
Yes, the country's dossier.
I don't know that they're online, but I do know that CBD has prepared them at least for all of, and CBD would be better able to answer this question than I would, but I believe that dossiers have been prepared for all of the countries in the regions that have already had workshops on meeting Aichi Biodiversity Targets 11 and 12. So I believe dossiers have been prepared for all of those countries and will be prepared or are in the process of being prepared for the countries and regions that still have workshops to come. But if the person that asked me that question or anyone else interested in the dossiers would send me a Skype message or an email, I can go to CBD and find out and get that dossier forwarded to them.
Okay, the next question is, as a student research, can someone work with the governments of countries to help them identify alliance for zero extinction sites?
Yeah, that would be great if the country is interested in doing that. And as I mentioned, many countries have already developed, like such as India, Brazil, Colombia, Peru. Mexico is currently in the process of creating its national AZE list. There is a lot that students can do. It's a process of both data gathering on critically endangered and endangered species and the sites they inhabit, as well as holding a workshop with experts from that country, taxonomic experts from that country, species experts from that country, who can get together and determine which species are restricted to just one site. And the Alliance for Zero Extinction, it can help facilitate that process. Obviously, it's a national level decision that the government is the one that determines how best to go about that. But AZE is here, the Alliance is here to help facilitate that process.
Thank you. The next question is, do you have recommendations for supporting the financing of AZE conservation? Are there resources available to support this kind of work?
The Alliance for Zero Extinction itself does not have funding to provide, but we are able to help with funding. I know that there's Jeff 6 and 7 coming up, and with other funding, we are able to help with funding ideas, even though we don't have funding ourselves that we can give out. Yes.
Okay, the next question is, can AZE site be focused on a particular species or taxonomic group, example, primates?
Yes, I mean, AZE covers all taxonomic groups, so it would also include any specific group. Obviously, there's more information available for some groups than others. There's generally more information for primates, for birds, than there would be for some insects or many plants that are out there. So it's often easier in some ways to start by identifying AZE sites for those taxa that do have more data available about them. But the long-term goal of the Alliance for Zero Extinction is to assess all of the different taxonomic groups and to include all critically endangered and endangered species that have been assessed by the IUCN Red List.
Thank you, Amy. I have a last question. What happens if the AZE sites are not protected?
Well, hopefully nothing, and they continue to exist. But of course, if they're not protected, there's no guarantee. If they're not protected and it's a privately owned site and the landowner decides to cut down that forest for agriculture, for example, well, then the species that lived at that site is likely to go extinct or extinct in the wild. That's why it is so important to protect these last remaining homes of these species, because this is it. If we lose that one site where the species lived or lives, it's a pretty desperate situation for that species, and more than likely it will be lost.
I have a last question. How AZE sites are linked to biodiversity important areas?
To the key biodiversity areas?
No, to the biodiversity important areas. I'm not sure if our participant, Elena Kreuzberg, can specify if she's talking about, she's saying biodiversity important areas.
Right. Well, these are really the most threatened of areas that are important for biodiversity. Obviously, there's a lot of sites that are important for biodiversity that do not have AZE species in them. There are sites that might contain threatened species that are not threatened to the level of only being at one site. And all of those sites are important. The Alliance for Zero Extinction was begun because these sites are those that are most urgently needing protection because there is only one site left. So they're truly irreplaceable sites. If a species exists at more than one site, then while not a great situation if it only exists at two sites, at least there's a chance that it can survive if one site is lost. The idea behind the Alliance for Zero Extinction is to protect those sites that are irreplaceable for those species.
Okay, thank you very much, Amy, for your time. And thank you, everybody, for your participation in this webinar. I do not have more questions at this point, so I'm going to finalize this session of the NBSAP Forum webinar. Thank you again, Amy, of course, for your time and for your presentation. Very clear and very good for our practitioners and our participants. Please check out our website, www.nbsap4.net, to get the list of the resources provided by this webinar. You will be getting an email with the list of resources, but just visit our website. Remember, you can download the recording of this webinar also from our site. Amy, thank you very much. Not sure you have any final word.
Well, I just want to thank you again, Diego, and to let everyone know that they are more than welcome to contact me by email or Skype if they have any further questions, would like to discuss this further, or have any information requests.
Okay, I am Diego Ochoa from the NBSAP Forum. Thank you very much for attending the webinar. Feel free to send your comments, suggestions, recommendations, and topics and themes for our future webinars. I hope you all enjoyed these sessions. Please join us in our next webinar in April. Remember, the recording as well as the presentation and the resource list will be available at the NBSAP Forum. Thank you very much and hope to see you all on our webinar in April. Thank you, Amy, and bye.